Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Christopher Hall Show. And I'm excited to welcome to the program Dr. Christopher Hall. Dr. Christopher Hall, how are you, Dr. Hall?
Well, I'm doing great. Just very busy taking care of patients, but I'm very excited about the guest that we have today.
Oh, I'm excited as well because you can think about it, an NFL athlete that then goes on to a great career after football. We love to hear these stories because a lot of times, Dr. Hall, the transitioning between life from one thing to another is a challenge, Dr. Hall, isn't it?
Well, no doubt. I mean, it's definitely a challenge, and particularly during this time when really things are changing, how people work, whether it's online or and so what's going on. So yeah, this is just a very interesting story.
Okay, so introduce our guest, please.
Well, no problem. Well, very excited to introduce a former NFL star, an individual who has basically now branched out into business and who has been a great role model for young people across America. I'd like to welcome to the show Akin Ayodele. Welcome to the show, Akin.
Hey, Doc Hall. Hey, Neil, how you guys doing?
Hey, Akin, that's doing great, fantastic. And
Oh, great.
you think about like telling me how have you dealt with the pandemic since it started, Akin? Because it's got to have been a challenge. I can't believe we're talking 13 months since the world changed in so many ways.
Yeah, it was scary in the beginning. It was scary. Nobody had an answer, and if you stayed and just sat there and watched TV or any news feed, any outlet, it was dire straits. And so in the beginning, it was very fearful, a lot of fear mongering. But what we did, my fiance at the time and I, we try to drown out the noise, right? We stopped watching news. We stopped, reading articles just about all the pandemic and the virus, and people. The message wasn't consistent enough for us, and so we just really just got into ourselves. We're people of faith. So we did a lot of prayer. We studied, went back into the Word. We trusted. We found people that we trust that could have consistent message. And honestly, it's been a great thing for our relationship because this pandemic, what it did is either force you to strengthen your relationship or expose your relationships.
Yes.
And for us, it really strengthened our relationship. It strengthened our family's dynamic. We birthed a daughter. She birthed a daughter. I just watched and held her hand.
Congratulations.
And so my daughter's a pandemic baby. And outside of that, it's we navigate the waters. So there's a theme. One of our former coaches, Jack Del Rio, used to say, and it's called midstream adjust. And it usually happens when in the middle of a situation, in the middle of a game, and everything is chaotic and you just don't know the answer. You learn to midstream adjust, which means you reset your mind, you relax, and you just allow things to come. And so that's what we did. We midstream adjust and got through it, and we're looking forward to everything opening up.
Okay, Dr. Hall, what's your first question for Akin?
Well, I mean, this is already an incredible, story that we're learning about Akin. And I'm sure we'll learn a lot more about the brave and wealthy one. But, Akin, tell us a little bit about kind of where you grew up and a little bit what your family life was like and maybe where you went to school, like college.
Yeah, so I'm the oldest of four. My mother raised four of us by herself. I'm three boys and a girl. The cool thing about my story or my family story is all three boys played in the NFL. Being the oldest,
wow.
I felt the need to set the tempo and set the pace for our family. I didn't start playing football until I was in high school. I was 13. My freshman year in high school, I think I weighed 125 pounds, all of 5'6". I was a late bloomer, and as soon as I realized that I could get a scholarship to play football and go to college, and that would pay for my education, my housing, my tuition, and then most importantly, food. I said, okay, this was it. And I started playing football. And, you know, I'm from Dallas, Texas, really urban Texas, where the original Cowboy Stadium was in. And then, you know, went up to Purdue University. I played, you guys may have heard of him. I played with this guy named Drew Brees.
Oh yeah.
You know, one or
Oh
two, you
yeah.
know, maybe a few
Yeah.
people know that guy. So Drew was the offensive captain. I was the defensive captain. And, you know, Drew was a great leader, which kind of gave us an example of, you know, how to follow, how to lead, and just how to be consistent. You know, you watch Drew on a daily basis. He was out 30 minutes before everybody else. He was always ahead of the pack. He was competitive about everything. I don't care if it was darts, Pac-Man, eating. Drew was trying to win it all. And, you know, that gave us a great role model to follow. I got lucky, you know, somehow I was gifted with some talent, and I got drafted in the third round of the 2002 draft class, went to the Jacksonville Jaguars, played 4 years there. Then I got to come home and play for the Cowboys, which was a cool deal. Bill Parcells brought me on, and then played a few years in Dallas. He went to Miami to be the VP of football ops, and then traded for me to go to Miami. I played in Miami a few years, and I played in Buffalo my last year in the league. And then after that, you know, I saw a need that I knew that probably my last 5 years playing, I started investing, got into business. I started trying to understand some finance and financial literacy, and try to figure out how to basically not lose all of my money,
Right.
how to grow, how to set a legacy up. And after, you know, I chose to walk away from the game, I went to grad school. I figured that all my peers in undergrad, from the time I got drafted and went to the league, they all went into the workforce, and they had a 10-year, you know, a 10-year head start. And so I went to grad school to narrow that gap. From grad school, which I went to George Washington University in DC. From there, I moved up to New York, and I did an intern for a private equity company. And then I started my own private equity company with my business partners back then. And I focus on the private equity side. They focus on the wealth management side. And for the last 6-7 years, you know, that's what I was doing. And recently, I had an insurance company reach out to me and asked me to be part of their executive team and to help them grow and help them lead. And so I made that transition into World Insurance. That's the name of the company. My division is Saposnick Insurance out in Miami, Florida. And that's what I'm into now. It's focuses employee benefits. If you think about 401k, employee benefits, voluntary insurance, that's my focus now. So it's been a ride. You know, just transitioning.
Yeah, it's a great story so far. I got to take you back, and then Dr. Hall, another question. I love that summary. Wow, a journey. Playing with Drew Brees. Did you learn certain things from Drew? Did you know that Drew was going to be such a great leader at that point in time?
Oh, hands down, hands down. There was no doubt. Physically, you look at him, he doesn't pose any threat. You know, he doesn't make you afraid. But his work ethic on a daily basis, he never gave up. Like I said, he was one of those guys. I mean, we would have practice at 2:00. Drew's out there at 1:30, 1:15, warming up, throwing. Our indoor facility had this net, and it had these dots on these nets. And Drew every day would set up 5 yards and would try to hit these dots from 5 yards, from 10 yards, from 15, 20, all the way down to 60. He was so passionate about the game, and he became such a student of the game that you didn't have a choice. I mean, in our time there, we won the Big Ten. We went to a bowl game every year. We played in the Rose Bowl. So you either would follow or you got left behind. And that was the example and the legacy that he left there. And you could see, obviously, continued on into the league.
Exactly. That was when Purdue was really, really good for sure.
Those times. Yeah, we're trying to get them back.
It'll happen. All right, Dr. Hall, what question do you have for Akin next?
Well, I mean, it's just an incredible story. And he mentions a lot of important things, that, basically a passion, hard work, consistency. And, that's what I was referring to his name. Akin, I think in the Yoruba language means brave and wealthy one. So, but anyway, tell us a little bit about just making that transition. You said going to graduate school at George Washington University, which is a great school. I mean, that you kind of like shifted gears and you had to be disciplined. So, how important is it for, say, even young people today to be disciplined to finish a goal or what they want to do, particularly in school?
Yeah, I mean, Doc, you can obviously relate to this. There has to be something in life that you want to pursue and you're willing to dive into.
Yes.
And no matter what it is, no matter what the outcome is, but you're willing to give yourself to. And I did that with football, right? I poured everything. I had people back at home. I grew up humble beginnings. I mean, we were so poor, we couldn't afford the O in poor. Like we were to the point where me and my brothers, we slept on the mattress that was on the floor in one room.
Oh my gosh.
So you come from that background and you understand that if you don't do something, if you don't take control of your life, other people are going to control your life. And so that's what I did. And I used all those lessons from growing up and all that work that I gave myself to the ball. I thought that, okay, if I can do that and make it to the highest point of a sport, that I can do the same with whatever other career I chose. And so that was what that transition was. I said, okay, if I'm going to make this transition into life, and I call it like civilian life,
Exactly.
is to pour myself into it. And that's what I did. I said, okay, one, I need education. I need to get educated. I need to reduce the gap between my peers that went into the workforce and for myself when I went into play professional sports. And the education aspect helped me out a lot. It helped me, and it created a network for me of people that I could reach out to. And then, I went and worked for a private a wealth management company. And in doing that, I started to understand the nuance of the industry. Now, I was still green. I was still trying to learn it, but I could start to understand the terminologies, and I could speak the language. And there were a lot of times, guys, let me tell you, I sat in rooms where I was probably the dumbest person in that room, right?
Wow.
But the more times you show up, the more times you get up, and the more times you show up, all of a sudden things start to click, things start to make sense. People start to gravitate towards you because they see that you're consistent. They see that you're passionate, and they see that you want to learn. And those are the things that if you always bring that to the table, I would say 9 out of 10 times people give you a shot.
Exactly. And I think what the hardest thing you did is the kind of thing I did. I mean, I didn't play at the highest level that you did I was a professional wrestler in the minor leagues. I didn't play at the highest level, but I decided after to quit when I was very young. I mean, I was in the minor leagues of pro wrestling, 1999, Bremen, Germany, hit the peak where I got to wrestle overseas, where you kind of are next step to the WWE. It just didn't feel like I was where I wanted to be. And I was very young at that point, still only like 27, 28. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go back and become a teacher. So I had to do the same kind of humble beginning in a way of just kind of like, wow, I'm used to being in the spotlight. I'm used to being the star. I'm used to being the guy that always people see I'm a legitimate 6'10". Now I'm going to go back, sit in a classroom, and our brain is what matters now. It's not in our work ethic. It's not what we attained as athletes. I was a college basketball player, D3. I'm just used to that. But now, all that's gone away. Now it's professional life, which kind of transitioned me to an entrepreneur today, where I think entrepreneurs are the best bet for an athlete in a lot of ways, sometimes working for people, but really being in control of leading because we're leaders. But when we go to the classroom, we're students, not leaders anymore. And it's a challenge, especially if it's a different activity. So did you have that same kind of thing? I mean, I had a 4.0 in grad school, so I did really well in grad school, but I'm just saying it still was hard to, after being in school and such a break in school, to go back at the age, kind of almost probably we went back to the age the same time to school. Would you agree?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well said. It's exactly the same way for me. I really had to humble myself because, like you said, if you're used to being the man and you used to people
Not the
really
man like
come.
you, but that's close to the man.
I'm sure you were. Don't downplay it. You really do have to humble yourself. But that was the thing, though. Neil, is that you said it well. When you just say, as far as the tangibles that you bring to the table as a former athlete, right? And you look at us going into, I did the entrepreneurial thing, and that's what, not that I was successful at it or I had great momentum, but I got to a place where I felt stuck, and I got to a place where I always need to grow, and I always continue to elevate.
Right.
One of my things that I think people recognize in me, that I was a hard worker, and I'm a good leader. I would say that, but there are certain things in the business world that I felt that I lacked. And so again, and where I am transitioning to now into the insurance business is one of those things that I did 10 years ago, where I had to humble myself, recognize the things that I lack, and then try to find a way to absorb it or to gain that knowledge. And so, yeah, I purposely, and things, I'm a man of faith. So for some reason, I do believe that things work out the way they're supposed to work out. And the timing of this group reaching out to me and where my mindset was at the time was perfect. It lined up to where I was looking to grow somewhere else.
And you're
And
going to learn from being in that organization.
to grow. And they reached out to me. I saw an opportunity where they recognized my value as being a former athlete, as going into a space where I knew absolutely nothing about, and going in and learning and making some headways in there. And they said, okay, this is a guy that knows how to adapt. This is a guy that knows how to shape himself and come in and evolve and add value in some aspects. And that's what I'm doing now. One of the reasons, and I'll say this real quick, that I did choose to go with this group is because they have a strong leader that I believe that I can learn from. Rachel Sapoznik.
Yes.
If you Google her, she started her business 34 years ago. She was folding sheets and pillows at a department store, transitioned and started this business, and watching and doing my due diligence on her and seeing her leadership style and the things that she's done for her business. There's somebody, I knew that was somebody that I could gain a lot of knowledge from and learn from. And wherever that transitions to, I know that I'll be better off for whatever God takes me after that.
And see, that's the thing. I ended up having to leave my full-time business to take a job. Then I've left my full-time job again to take the business. But I learned in 3 years so many things that I take now to running an organization or my company that I did not have that knowledge base 3 years ago to be able to handle what I'm handling today, by being in the intertwines of being in a corporate world and seeing and learning and living in that corporate world, Dr. Hall. So let's go to the next question for him. But we have a lot of similarities for sure. We're going to have to definitely talk offline about the similarities. All right, Dr. Hall, next question.
No problem. And see, and that's the fabric of America, really. People like Akin, the humbleness he talks about, where he comes from. Hey, we had to sleep on the floor on a mattress, but he's very humble. He leaves out things about himself being a scholar athlete. At Purdue. They say things like, "Well, I was the dumbest guy in the room." And what they're saying is, hey, I was the most listening guy in the room and I wasn't talking. So it's very incredible. So now tell us a little bit about the Dream Builders Foundation. You've gotten involved in those type of foundations. Tell us about that and how important is that for motivating young people?
Yeah, so this is to my core who I am, is giving back and being a servant. That's one of the things that I do naturally, and I know that that's my calling. In 2006, I started a foundation. I think I just came to Dallas at the time, playing for the Cowboys, but I started a foundation called Akin's Path. And what I did at the time, I mentored high school students. I would pick 5 high school students, and I would mentor them, and I'll take them, we do community activities, and then I'll take them out, once a month. And then I transitioned that from Akin's Path into what we now call the Dream Builders in 2010, 2011. What I saw a need. I saw that my teammates and my colleagues and my friends around me also wanted to be involved in the community and also wanted to start their own foundations, but had problems either having having people set it up for them, or they were not as effective as they would like. So I used my foundation as an umbrella to make them partners, and we like to call them captains of our foundation, and where it's all kids and youth initiatives. So what we focus on is kids and youth. Our three of our main programs: education, extracurricular activities, and nutrition. And we model a lot of our partnerships with the corporate world and with our captains based around those three initiatives. We've been in 32 NFL cities. We partner with NBA players, MLB players. We've raised and donated over $4 million in the last 10 years. So it's something that we're passionate about. And Suppositive and World Insurance, who I'm with now, is also partnering with us to also continue to do a lot of the work that we're doing, because they see the value add in that.
So that's tremendous work you're doing in the community, where you're coming through that. Dr. Hall's looking to get his foundation running. COVID kind of took a backseat, wanting to work with. We were working a lot, looking at a lot of the NFL athletes and other people, and partner with his foundation. He really wants to work with kids, but partner with organizations like your own. So we'll definitely have to look at that connectivity at one point in time. All right. So Dr. Hall, go ahead and summarize Akin for us, guys. All right. Go ahead, Dr. Hall.
No pressure.
He's good at summarizing. Watch.
No problem. I mean, this is pretty much, I would say, a story of the playbook of America, of how, to come from a humble background, to focus and to show others how to do it and how to be motivational. And so that's what he's done. He's been very disciplined, very consistent, made choices that would show other people, hey, this is the way you do it. And then he's gotten back a lot, but he's given a lot. And so those things are passion. Finding someone like Drew Brees, finding a leader, learning from them, okay? And then using your talents to teach other people, to give back to communities, foundations. Wow. During this time where we're emerging from COVID, this is really the message that we need here in America. So, wow, very excited that you came on the show today, and wish you all the best too in the future.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hall. Good summary. I appreciate the time. I know you could be doing anything right now, and I know you've been saving lives. So I appreciate you taking the time and just having me, and that's speaking.
Yeah, he wrote a book, Ward of the Court, about how he was ward of the court to be a successful doctor and author and entrepreneur. So fantastic journey Dr. Hall's had. So Akin, is there a place we can connect with you? Best place? Where can we go for people to check you out?
Yes, I'm getting engaged and more active on social media. So the Akin Project on Instagram, Twitter, it's my name. You can find me on there. Usually those are the two best places. I have some of the other ones. I'm still learning to navigate those, but especially Instagram and Twitter.
Hey, we need to talk. Trust me, I do that stuff, and I don't know if you've jumped on Clubhouse yet. If you have an iPhone,
yes.
Are you on Clubhouse? Make sure you follow.
I am.
Clubhouse.
I have to get engaged in it though.
Well, then I'd like to talk to someone else about that. I'm going to take the initiative to reach back out to you on that end. So just make sure you go ahead and text me. But anyone can have my number. It's 412-523-0289. But I'll send it to your publicist to let them know. I definitely want to have a conversation offline. But I can put it out there. My phone number. Let's take some action today. But Chris, again, awesome show, great guest, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
All right.
All right, guys. Okay. All right. That was the Dr. Cristopher Hall Show, guys. Take care.